How grand is your duchy? Welcome back to Cliffieland. This is Weekend Country number 101 on our second attempt of cooking the food of every single country in the world. And tonight we're up to the nation of Luxembourg. Luxembourg, a tiny landlocked nation located between France, Germany, and Belgium, is the only grand duchy on the entire planet and is also the richest country in the world when measured by a per capita GDP basis. Its cuisine is pretty much what you'd expect, a combination of the French and German traditions, a lot of German peasant traditions working their way in, involving beef and ham and poultry and potatoes, and then a lot of French techniques that are involved in there as well. Now, in trying to find dishes for Luxembourg, I had a little bit of trouble because the national dish of Luxembourg is a big ham, a pork neck actually, which is marinated for days and cooked with broad beans, and that one wasn't going to happen. Also, there was another dish I found that involved a ham which is actually sitting on actual hay, which also was not going to be happening. This is sort of the problem we had last time, so let's take a look and see how things went when we tried everything then. Well, 4 years ago on the Global Cooking Challenge, I was facing the same dilemma, and I wound up cooking over 2 nights 4 total dishes. On the first night, I made this really delicious green bean soup. I'm not going to try to pronounce any of these names in the original Luxembourger, which is actually a dialect of German, I understand. In any case, green bean soup. Don't really like green beans, but this came out really nicely. It had sausages in it. It didn't taste really great until I seasoned it properly, but unfortunately, we're not able to do that one this time. On night 2, that's what we're recreating here. We made 3 dishes. First, a baked applesauce, which was really great. I did a potato pancake, which was a total mess because it was really watery, and it wound up being something like a flour dumpling when I was done. And a trout in Riesling sauce, which was out of this world. It was really great, and I'm really looking forward to making that again. In fact, it was one of the first dishes I made that felt like I was actually having fine dining, which is not something I expected this guy to be creating. So now we need to see what goes into those 3 dishes. First, for our baked applesauce, we'll need 8 to 9 baking apples, or 3 pounds of apples depending on the size, which will be cut in half and cored. A 1/4 cup of brown sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a pinch of salt, and about 2 to 3 tablespoons of water if needed. And then for our potato pancakes, we'll need 2 pounds of potatoes, 2 medium onions diced, 2 shallots diced, several sprigs of parsley diced. We've gone with about 2 tablespoons worth here, about 4 to 6 eggs, salt and pepper to taste, between a 1/4 to a 1/2 cup of canola oil, and about 2 tablespoons of flour. And finally, for our trout in Riesling sauce, we'll need about 1 pound of trout fillets. We've cut this down from the original 4 whole trout in the original recipe, 7 ounces of dry Riesling or Ebbling, 10 ounces of creme fraiche, 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter divided into 2 tablespoon portions, 2 tablespoons of parsley finely chopped, 3 shallots minced. Optionally, you would have a pinch of chervil here, but we don't have that. 1 tablespoon of finely chopped tarragon leaves, 1 tablespoon of chives finely chopped, and salt, pepper, and paprika to taste. Well, as you can see, I didn't even attempt to pronounce any of those things in the original Luxembourger, but this is going to be really fun. Time to get cooking. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Prepare 1 to 2 baking pans with a light layer of non-stick cooking spray. Place the apple halves, cut side down, on the baking sheets, and cover tightly with aluminum foil. Bake the apples for about 30 to 40 minutes or until tender. Set aside to cool. When the apples are cool enough to handle, slip off the skins. Scrape any pulp from the peels, and discard the apple skins. While the apples are still warm, mash them with a fork. Stir in the brown sugar, cinnamon, a pinch of salt, a bit of water if needed, and mash and stir together. Enjoy warm, room temperature or cold. Wash, peel, and grate the potatoes. Place the potatoes in a bowl of water with a teaspoon of vinegar so they don't oxidize. Place a handful of the potatoes into the center of a clean dishcloth. Wring out the water. Put the grated potatoes into a mixing bowl and mix in the onions, shallots, and parsley. Beat the eggs and mix them in. Add salt and pepper to taste. Mix well. Dust a clean surface with flour. Shape the potato mixture into balls and mash them to make flat cakes. However, our mixture was still too wet and we had to express more water by wringing it through a clean dish towel again. Fry the cakes in oil, turning once they're golden brown on both sides. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Clean, wash, and dry the trout with paper towels. Sprinkle the trout with salt, pepper, and flour. Melt 2 tablespoons of butter in a pan. Fry the trout gently for 2 to 3 minutes per each side. Meanwhile, melt the other 2 tablespoons of butter in a saucepan. Move the trout to the saucepan, and to the frying pan add the chopped parsley, chopped chives, chopped tarragon, shallots, and the dry Riesling wine. Pour this mixture over the trout in the saucepan, and add the creme fraiche, and season to taste with salt, pepper, and a pinch of paprika. Place the saucepan in the hot oven, and cook for 15 to 20 minutes, basting the trout occasionally. Take the fish out of the oven. Carefully remove the fish to a warm plate. Boil the sauce while whisking until thick. Serve the applesauce in ramekins. Plate the potato pancakes. Plate the trout. And cover the trout with the sauce. Wipe plates and serve. How did that all turn out? Well, let's start off with that baked applesauce. I did have to dig that recipe out of the bowels of the internet because it disappeared in the last 4 years. But I'm glad I did because it was just as good as it was the time before, and I'm going to be making it again for family and friends, so watch out. I'm going to give that baked applesauce 5 out of 5 globes because it was super delicious and I loved it. On to the potato pancakes. Well, as I said last time, they were really watery. I don't know exactly why. I figured I hadn't gotten enough water out of the potatoes. So using the trick I learned last week for Lithuania, I squeezed the water out of the potatoes as best I could. However, they were still kind of watery and I had to squeeze them again after I'd mixed in everything. Now, I'm sure that affected the flavor because that squeezed out things like the egg yolk and so forth like that. But they went up okay. They didn't completely fall apart, but they kind of did. They didn't have a ton of flavor, and that's maybe because there were too many onions. Basically, we're going to say a combination of my not knowing exactly what to do on this front and that recipe being really vague. I'm going to give the potato pancakes 3 out of 5 globes. I'm sure there are better potato pancake recipes out there that would give you a better idea as to what to do and what not to do with this. However, that trout and Riesling sauce was really great. It had tremendous flavor. I wish I had known the difference between the saucepans that it was talking about, because obviously, as you saw, trying to get the fish out of the pan, it kind of broke apart a little bit, which really affected the presentation, but not the taste, because it tasted tremendous. It had the great herbaceous flavors from the chives and the tarragon and that creme fraiche, and the trout itself was flaky and delicious, so I'm going to give the trout and Riesling sauce 5 out of 5 globes. A really stellar dish that I'm going to be making next time I have a dinner party, because it's really good. So that does it for the L's and Luxembourg. We're going to stay in Europe for a record 4th week next week when we decide to not pay attention to what happened in a vote in the country in terms of the name and cook the food of Macedonia, the Republic of Macedonia, not the Greek Macedonia. Tune in! And remember, if you'd like to see our streams live when they happen every Tuesday night, be sure to follow us on Periscope or Facebook Live. Like and subscribe to be advised when these videos are posted. Remember, links to the original recipes can always be found in the About section. And if you have any thoughtful feelings or helpful suggestions about the food that we're cooking, let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching and happy eating!